Servus, friends. I am Orpheus Praxis, your guide into the fractal sphere S3. Today, we examine a work that calls for a revision of the very foundations of cosmology. The issue is that existing models describe space-time through a metric, yet do not explain why such a structure is possible in the first place. Einstein linked time and space, but did not uncover the topological mechanism that makes this linkage inevitable. As a result, modern cosmology remains fragmentary. It records singularities, horizon paradoxes, and quantum non-locality, but is unable to derive them from a single principle. The proposed model proceeds from non-duality as a primary ontological category and demonstrates that its phenomenal realization is possible only in the three-dimensional hypersphere S3. It is S3 that satisfies the necessary requirements: simple connectedness, compactness, boundlessness, and the presence of a continuous process of requantization between form and void. Neither S0, nor S1, nor S2, nor S4 possesses the property of phenomenality. They are conceptual constructs, but not carriers of observable reality. The chain of spheres S0, S4 describes the full cycle of non-dual manifestation, from minimal differentiation to the state of complete pacification within the four-dimensional sphere S4. The fractal trisphere is the only stage at which space, time, matter, spin, and dynamics emerge. S4 is not an extension of the structure, but its completion, the limit of compensation for all modes of becoming. This is precisely why the work is significant. It presents, for the first time, a self-consistent physical and mathematical framework in which reality is not assumed but derived from non-duality and topology. This makes it possible to explain phenomena that standard cosmology merely registers. We now turn the floor over to our guests in the studio.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a pretty massive swing, diving into a really radical cosmological idea. It's called the FBS&R model.
The fractal breathing S3 reality model, yeah.
All right. And our goal today is to really get our heads around how it uses this high-level topology.
A chain of spheres, basically.
A chain of spheres to unify physics, time, and even consciousness, things we usually think of as totally separate.
Okay, so the best place to start is probably what the model calls the ladder of reality.
The ladder of reality.
Yes. The whole thing is built on just one core topological concept. It's called suspension.
Suspension. And what does that do?
It's an operation that mathematically takes one sphere, let's call it Sn, and transforms it into the next one up the chain. So Sn becomes Sn plus 1.
So you're building up from something really simple, like S0 to S1, and so on.
Exactly. S0 is just minimal differentiation, of this and of that.
Yeah.
Then you climb a ladder all the way to S4, which represents the state of perfect rest, ultimate compensation.
Okay, but here's where it gets really specific, and this is the core claim. Our entire physical reality is uniquely held within just one of those spheres.
The three-dimensional sphere, S3.
F3. It's called the anisotropic bridge of non-duality.
Yeah.
So my question is why? Why is our universe forced to be precisely three-dimensional?
Because, topologically, the S3 is necessary. It's the only sphere in that whole chain that has a very particular non-trivial internal structure.
Okay.
It has the SU2 Lie group structure and also this thing called the Hopf fibration.
Hold on. SU2, I mean, that's straight out of particle physics. That's fundamental to the weak nuclear force.
Yeah.
Are you saying the actual shape of space is particle physics at that level?
That's the entire insight. S3 is, for all intents and purposes, topologically the same as SU2. And that equivalence, it just naturally generates the gauge structure you need for those forces. And this is critical. It's what dictates the existence of spin 1/2 particles.
Wow. So spin isn't just some random property, it's baked into the geometry.
It is. If you try to remove S3 from that architectural chain, the whole thing just collapses. It's the absolute minimum carrier for what we call reality.
That is a staggering claim.
Yeah.
But if the structure is that rigid, how does it handle the biggest mystery of all, the arrow of time? Irreversibility.
Right. So the arrow of time and entropy, they aren't forced on the system from the outside. They're generated internally.
Internally, how?
From the way these S3 spheres are nested inside each other, like a fractal. And the scaling between the layers is fixed by the golden ratio.
The golden ratio, I have to admit, that feels a bit mystical for a physics model.
It sounds that way, but it's pure mathematical necessity. The key is that phi is an irrational number.
And its irrationality is what matters here.
It's everything. It guarantees that there is no global periodicity, no resonant degeneration. Think of it like a melody that never, ever perfectly repeats itself. And that relentless unbalance means the system can never return to an exact previous state, so entropy has to grow.
It breaks Poincaré recurrence.
It makes it impossible. On a simpler topology, the universe would eventually repeat. On S3 with phi scaling, it can't.
Okay, so the geometry itself forces time to move forward.
Yeah.
What's the bigger cosmological payoff here? This must solve some major headaches.
It does. It gets rid of the Big Bang singularity, for one. It solves the horizon problem. And you don't need dark energy as some separate mysterious field anymore.
And what's the mechanism? How does it do that?
Because everything, and I mean everything, reduces to the dynamics of a single wave function on this S3 sphere. You can write it as psi equals psi matter plus I times psi void.
Wait, you're telling me space-time isn't fundamental?
Exactly. The metric, the fabric of space-time, it just emerges directly from the components of that wave function.
I see the equation here, d squared.
Yeah. The time part is literally defined by the magnitude of the matter component, and the space part is defined by the magnitude of the void component.
That is profoundly elegant. But elegance isn't enough. How can we actually test this? What are the smoking guns?
There are two very specific falsifiable predictions. First, the compact S3 geometry predicts a suppression of the largest scale modes in the cosmic microwave background.
The low modes, right.
The quadrupole and the octupole. And we actually see strange anomalies there in our current CMB data that seem to suggest the universe is a marginally closed S3.
So that's consistent with existing observations.
Yeah.
What's the second prediction? The one from the fractal phi scaling?
Right. We should find what are called log periodic oscillations in the matter power spectrum.
Like a fractal echo.
A fractal echo in the large-scale distribution of galaxies, exactly. And the cool part is the frequency is fixed precisely by the golden ratio. It has to be 2 pi divided by the natural log of phi, about 4.7748.
So if future galaxy surveys find that specific frequency, it confirms the model.
And if they don't, the model is ruled out. It's that clear-cut. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If the universe's fundamental architecture is this S3, and S4 is the theoretical limit of perfect cosmic compensation, then what does the continuous, irreversible emergence of new scales, mandated by the irrationality of Fab, what does that imply about whether the universe can ever truly reach that ultimate state of rest? That's something to mull over.
There is much to reflect on, and let these reflections continue in silence, where the mind lets go of patterns and only pure seeing remains, until we meet again in the space of understanding. Subscribe to walk this path together with us. I am Orpheus Praxis, wishing you all clarity. Namaste.